Michele Granberg here. Welcome to Positive Energy, enlightening television for the evolving soul. Animal lovers agree that pets are wonderful companions and they truly become members of the family. So wouldn't you love to know what they're thinking? My guest, Anne Angelo, is an intuitive animal communicator and small animal massage therapist. Her life work is communicating with animals telepathically and helping humans develop rewarding bonds with their furry friends. Stay with us. Positive Energy starts right now. So, hey, Anne Angelo, welcome to Positive Energy.
Thank you.
I'm excited for you to be here, talk about animal communication. So start by telling us how you got started in this, what led you to do what you're doing with animal communication, and anything about your background that you'd like to share.
Well, I've been communicating with animals ever since I was a little kid. Didn't know I was doing it until I was invited to go to a class in animal communication. Mm-hmm. When I went to the class, it all just kind of flowed. I was just doing it, and it was sort of like a light bulb went off, and I was able to put a name to what I was doing. So I decided to hone that skill. So I continued to take courses and develop it into what I do today to help others with their animals.
Yeah, so it's not your primary work, but it is certainly a significant part of what your life work, you might call it.
Yes, absolutely. I do animal massage, I do energy work, so it's sort of a bundle. I am a licensed clinical social worker too, so that's a part of what I do.
Yeah. I was going to say full service for animals. Maybe animals need a little psychotherapy sometimes as well. So talk a little bit about the nature of animal communication. Sometimes people don't always know exactly what that means. Do you call it telepathy, or do you just call it nonverbal communication? Do you call it intuitive communication? So how do you sort of explain it to people?
Yeah, I mean, it is all of those things. Basically what it is you're tuning into the energy of the animal to understand what they're thinking and what they're feeling. So it is not observing what they're doing and reading their body language. It's not that at all. Mm-hmm. It is understanding literally what they feel and what they think. And when I tell people the best way they can relate to what this is that a lot of people can relate to having a phone call come and they know who's on the other line before they pick up the phone. So we all have that ability. It's just that I've worked to develop it a bit more, and I do think everybody can do it. That's why I teach classes in it, because I love to see people bring that out, and it's so good for the animals because they just are waiting for us to respond to what they're trying to tell us.
So we're all intuitive beings, mm-hmm. and we're picking up on things intuitively with each other, with other humans, as well as with animals, as well as the environment around us. Yeah. So I've heard people say that the way you read animals is they tend to send pictures. Is that true? Mm-hmm. You said feelings. Is it also images?
Yes.
So how else is it recognized?
Right. People receive the information in different ways. You can receive the information. We say audio, but it's sort of like you're hearing a sentence in your mind, but it's more natural sounding than that. I mean, that sounds a little strange, but it's that you're seeing things, images that they're sending you, that you're having a feeling that is not coming from you, it's coming from them. You might have a physical sensation, so let's say that an animal's paw is hurt. If I tune into an animal and my left hand is hurting, then that indicates to me that their left front paw is hurting. Mm-hmm. And yes, a lot of the information I get is pictures. It's how I send information to an animal is with images and with a feeling attached to it. And it's also just what I say is like a knowing. You just know that you know that you know. Mm-hmm. And we all do that in life. We have that gut or intuition feeling that this is what it is. And you can work to hone that skill.
So when you say honing, anybody can do it. Technically, we're born wired to be able to receive and pick up as well as give intuitive information. So what would be maybe one tip that's easy for people? Because I know you also teach people to do this for themselves. Mm-hmm. What's one of the best tips that you offer people if they would like to communicate more effectively with their animal?
Yeah, I mean, the best thing people can do is to quiet their mind. That's the way that you receive the information best. So meditation is a great way to do that, just to slow down your thoughts, just kind of get grounded, and that's the way the animals are. That's how you're connecting on their brain wave level. So meditation is an excellent way to do that. And I always say there's kind of no excuses now, because you can go to YouTube and find free meditation things to listen to and just let that guide you through it. Because some people do have trouble by themselves sitting down and quieting their mind. You can kind of go off in different directions. And even I have sometimes problems with that, especially after a busy day. So, you can listen to something that can help you to get into that space.
Okay, that's great. So learning meditation or some technique that helps ground, quiet, and center
right.
yourself and your mind.
Yeah.
So why do people come to you? Why do they call you or ask for your services? And tell us a little bit about what a typical, if there is one, sort of animal communication session entails.
Yeah, people call me from anything from a behavioral issue, like a cat urinating outside the litter box, to they've had a baby come into the home and now their dog is having difficulty adjusting, or they're preparing to move, or an animal has been adopted and so they've had some kind of trauma, so we're working on that. So I'll use different modalities. I may use massage if somebody wants me to help with anything that could be happening with an animal that a human might go to somebody for massage for.
Right.
So including an older dog who has arthritis, or a younger dog who's had an ACL tear surgery and we're trying to help get them through that faster, the healing process. And I'll use essential oils to also support them through that, and energy healing as well. The animal communication is, can be used with those things or separate from it, but pretty much for anything that's going on with them.
Just like with us. People
Right.
reach out for help sometimes when it's really crucial, when it's urgent, and sometimes when it's not so much, but they just want to know more about what's going on within that animal. So have you seen maybe a main message from animals, or do you recall maybe one particular session that really stands out for you that was either surprising or common?
The main message, or I would say a message that comes across from many of the animals that I work with, if not all, is they would like people to stay in the present, to stop being so focused on the future and kind of almost out of our bodies, just thinking about what's coming or even the past. They want us to stay present. And in that, they want us to be more loving of each other. Animals are often, all they're thinking about is the present and how to help their people. That comes out a lot in our sessions. So sometimes the session will start off about the animal, and then the animal will start to talk about something that's going on for the person. And that can often be affecting the animals. In fact, a lot of times it's things that are going on in our lives are affecting the animals. So that can be a really helpful thing to hear what the animal has to say about that. And they definitely have opinions about us and our lives and our relationships and everything you can think of, they have an opinion about it. So
we better watch what we're doing and saying. They're paying attention.
They are. They pick up on everything.
Little witnesses in the house.
Absolutely. Yep.
It's a good thing they can't speak English, right? Sometimes.
Yeah, they're very aware of what's going on. They're just sort of waiting for us to respond. And I would say, as far as something that was impactful for me was a session with a dog named Deegan, who is a wonderful dog that I did animal communication massage and energy work with for a while. And Deegan was a wonderful dog. He had 3 legs, and he was one time where he was having a massage and his person was talking about his 3 legs, and it was kind of sad what had happened and everything. And he just said, "Stop it." He did not want to talk about that. He said, "I am fine the way I am, and we're not going to talk about that anymore." So he didn't want to be stuck in the past. He didn't want to be in negativity. And he was a wonderful dog. But in that moment, we were laughing because it was he was so strong in his opinions.
Really clear about that.
About that,
Just knock it off. Enough
Absolutely.
about that. I'm not a victim. we don't have to wallow in that
right,
any longer.
Exactly. Mm-hmm.
It's interesting because it really makes us think that animals are almost wiser than us in some ways, or sometimes at least,
Mm-hmm.
that they're not as coming from a negative place as we are,
Right.
or an ego place
Mm-hmm.
like we are. So they can give us sort of a higher perspective. Is that what you find? Maybe we could call it a
Exactly.
soul's perspective, or whatever
Mm-hmm.
you want to, kind of call it, a higher perspective. And they're telling us, be as we are,
Mm-hmm.
present and from love.
Right, exactly. Yes. Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
you also do animal massage, as you mentioned, and energy
Mm-hmm.
healing with animals. So say a little bit more about that. How does it work? What are the benefits?
Sure. You know, the way I start any session is I explain to people, first of all, that I'm not a vet. I can't diagnose, I can't heal, I can't treat, I should say, any illness. I can give a different perspective, and that's the animal's perspective on what's going on for them physically. So I literally will explain, the animal is saying that they're having pain in this area of their body, or sometimes a veterinarian will refer to me because they've done a lot of different tests and they can't figure out exactly what's going on. Or so I'll do sort of what I call like a scan of the animal's body, and there may be different hits, and it will help me to those help to show what maybe a veterinarian could look at next, or how I might support them. So for instance, I had an animal that the vet had done a lot of different things. The animal was just not doing well. They had tried everything. They couldn't figure out what was going on. They did a lot of testing. And so eventually the person had me tune into the animal to see what was going on. And something came across to me that the veterinarian just hadn't, they had actually done a sort of a superficial test, some blood work, and I said, you need to go a little bit deeper, do a little bit more in this area. And it turned out that there was an issue that hadn't been noted before. They hadn't picked up on it before. So I also approach it very prayerfully. So when I go into a session, I'm asking for God to guide me when I do the work that I do. That's very important to me. So, the information that I find out from an animal is what's going to be in their highest good.
In their best interest.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
In the best interest of all.
Right.
Well, that's what makes it really rewarding, even beyond what we might imagine in terms of it being, really helpful. You might bring in a missing piece and be able to really work in tandem with, traditional veterinary medicine. And so wouldn't that be wonderful in the future if that happened much more often, and we could really see that?
Exactly. Yeah.
Integrative,
it's a team,
holistic medicine for animals.
Right. It's a team approach to me. It's not one person working alone. We're all working together to try to help each other, to help the animal. There's no ego. It's all about what's going to be best for the animal, and nobody's more important or player, and we just want to know how to best help that animal and their person too, because it's the person who's, oftentimes very worried and concerned about their animal. So hopefully we can bring resolution to that and go forward. So.
Do you see that people are reaching out for this more and more? Have you seen it on the rise, increasing?
Yeah, I would say it's come into awareness more. I've been doing this professionally for about 10 years, maybe a little over 10 years professionally. So I think it's become more into people's awareness what this is. As we sort of evolve as a society, it's gaining a little bit more traction. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So that's wonderful to hear. So just for people who are watching, give us your website so that people have a way to reach out to you if they would like to do that.
Sure. It's intuitivetouchanimalcare.com, and I do have individual sessions both in person and at a distance for animal communication, and the same thing with courses. I do in person out of Morristown, New Jersey, and other locations, and I do distance classes too, and in-home massage and energy work.
Great. So I hope people will reach out to you. And now, up next, we're going to actually be bringing in a dog, and you're going to do a demonstration of what you do with animal communication. So we're going to really get to see you in action.
Great.
So very exciting.
Yep.
So that's what is up next. So
Great.
Thank you very much, Anne Angelo.
Thank you.
So now we're joined on Positive Energy by Franne Demetrician, my friend. Hi, Franne.
Michelle.
Thank you for bringing this sweet little girl today. This is Sophie. So, Anne, is going to connect with Sophie and see what she has to say.
So how old is Sophie?
4.
Okay. So what were the questions that you had for Sophie? Let's just start with your first question.
Well, my first question is kind of just something to tell you that I tell her I love her a lot. I look really deep into her eyes and tell her I love her. And I'm wondering if she understands that, or if you have a sense of whether she understands what I'm saying to her.
Sure. Okay. So what she sends me is a feeling of heart expansion when you talk about that. So when a person is talking to me about their animals are often listening to the conversation, and she is. So she already knew what you were asking as we were, So her response is, she shows me her heart opening, expanding, and that's the feeling that she has when you look into her eyes and tell her that you love her. So she absolutely is feeling that when you do that.
That's great news.
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah, you're doing a good job of communicating with her.
She
Good,
gets
because
it.
she gets it a lot.
Heart to
Gets
heart,
a lot of
honey.
love.
No
Right.
surprise there.
And the animals come from the heart. That's when I communicate with them, I open my heart to them, and that's how it's almost like a light that goes between us, but it's a heart-centered light. It's not all in the head,
That's something important for everybody to remember with their pets. That's the way to communicate. Go into your heart.
Yeah, and each other, right?
Right.
Yes.
Yeah.
Very important.
And what's your next question?
So the other question I'm curious about is whether Jake, our dog that passed away, whether Jake sent her to us, because we've always had the sense that he was involved in us finding each other.
Okay, so let me see what she has to say about this. So she says, I'm aware that there was a Jake. She mentions pictures in your home of Jake.
Wow.
She says, what she says about why she's here, she says, I was just meant to be here. She says, I filled a void. Yeah, she says she calls it a space in your heart that she's filled. And she says she's helped to heal that space. She does. She was God sent. That's how she puts it.
Oh,
yeah. And she says, God heaven sent. Anything else you want to go from there?
those
That's
are the
beautiful.
Two,
That
those
is
are the two
incredibly comforting.
Key things and very comforting.
I can kind of feel Jake's presence with us now, even.
Yeah.
Thank you, Sophie.
So let me see if she has anything else she wants to mention. She says it's bright in here. I don't mean to take away from the this very natural
We
world
agree,
that
Sophie. We
we're
agree.
in here, but she says it's bright in here, and warm, and many scents, new scents. And she mentioned saying, and so animals, when I speak with them, I'll give you a literal description of what they're showing me, and sometimes I do need to translate sort of into human English, but she's showing me grass outside, and saying it's strange to come into this place because she's not as familiar with it, and
There's no grass.
it's different than outside. I don't know if that's I don't think that's real grass. I don't know, but she's saying that coming from the outside and paws on grass, that this is different. So she's just kind of just letting us know that this is what it's like to be a dog, coming from one setting that I'm more familiar with things, I'm more familiar with the smells, into a new place. So this helps us to understand what it's like for a dog or any animal to go from an environment that they're used to another environment. They're very aware of these things, and we're not even necessarily thinking about it, like how all that's impacting them. But she's highlighting that for us, that it's something unusual. She has to adjust to it. She's not familiar. So They help to show us what matters to them when we sometimes wouldn't normally think of these things. So we can make adjustments in their environment as a result to help them. See what else she wants to talk about. She's very aware that her father is outside and not understanding why he's not inside in this session here. And I'm just letting her know that she'll see him in a minute, and that there's snacks waiting for her. Just asking her if she has any messages for anybody who might be watching.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask, because I know we were just talking in our interview about how animals pick up on what their purpose is and some of that higher information. Does she have any for Fran and Bob, or does she have any maybe for everybody who's watching? It's a lot on your shoulders, Sophie, right now. Be the little Buddha dog that you are, Bodhisattva animal.
She says, be aware of what animals are feeling. And she says, be more aware. She says, I feel a frustration that our world doesn't do that enough. People aren't listening to us enough. She says, if you took this to a higher level, you would see that it has an impact that people don't realize. On a bigger level, like on a worldwide level, on many levels. Because if we're cut off from this kind of thing, like this heart level interaction, and we're missing things, we're not understanding each other. Just as much as we're not understanding animals, we're not understanding each other. We're not getting messages from nature about our environment, about the world, what's going on. We're not connecting with nature and each other. So she said, if we understood that more and did it more, imagine if everybody did this. What kind of world would it be if that happened?
That's a beautiful lesson.
It is.
That's a beautiful lesson.
Vital lesson.
Yeah.
Yeah, stay connected to nature, to ourselves, be like this.
Yeah, they're amazing teachers. They have so much to tell us.
Can you ask her if she's happy with us?
She goes back, she says, of course, I said that. She looks like this little fluff ball. This is a thing people should keep in mind when we're talking to animals.
Looks can be deceiving.
Exactly. They'll look
smart.
like these little fluffy, cute little things, but they have very strong opinions a lot of time. And so she says, I just told you that I was supposed to be with you.
It doesn't mean she's happy.
Well, yes, she says, I am happy, and I'm...
Okay, then. That's all I'm saying.
Mommy just needs validation.
I just need...
You know, the way
so
mommies
needy.
are.
I'm so needy.
She says that she has work that she does with you in your home.
She does.
She says it's a great deal of healing work, energy work,
Wow.
heart level work. And she says, I'm very busy and I put a lot of effort into this.
I know you do, baby.
Beautiful. Well, she is a healing presence.
Yeah.
That is
She
for
is.
sure. How about you
Yes.
guys just moved? You could ask about that, how she feels about the new place.
I would love to just let you know that I'm a massage therapist,
Okay.
and she is part of the process,
Oh, okay.
and Jake was too.
Oh, okay.
So she is part of the
She
healing
helps you.
that happens in that room.
Wonderful.
So it's really neat to hear you say that,
Yeah, she's...
and that she loves it, that she knows that's her part of her work.
Yeah, absolutely.
She and I are a team in that
She's
regard.
helping you.
Yep.
She's a little healer in her own right.
She
Yeah.
is.
Yeah, and often when people do healing work, animals help with that work. And even if they're not doing traditional healing work, even if they're, I don't know, they fix computers and people come into their office and they talk to those people, Animals, this is just an example, but could be sitting there and helping that person that comes in on some level. So there's so many ways that they do their own work that we just don't even, oftentimes we don't realize that they're doing these things.
It's part of their purpose, part of their role.
Right.
I have heard that we choose each other, our pets and us choose each other almost before we're born. Is that something that you've experienced? What do you think?
I feel like there is like this soul thing that goes on, similar to people, that if people are going to be together for whatever reason, whether it's friendship or marriage or whatever, that there's some kind of connection there that was in some way established before getting here. That's just what I have felt and received as a message from the animals, yes.
Another thing I'd love to ask is, are animals, species to species, how do they communicate with one another? Like, how does Sophie communicate with the squirrels and the birds? How does she receive that? How does she give that?
She certainly does.
I'd love to.
They do, absolutely.
In a loud way sometimes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, they're all connected. They're all feeling each other and sensing each other. So the animals within our home will communicate similar to how I'm communicating with them now. They're just doing it as animals. And they do this in nature. Animals in nature are communicating. We can communicate with animals in nature. There's wonderful messages to be received from animals in nature. Sometimes that is on an individual level. I could see a deer and speak with that deer. You can also tune into deer, what a lot of us call collective. So it's sort of like the energy of all deer, and find out information just about that things that all deer sort of share in common. So it's really exciting and interesting. You can go so deep and on so many levels with the animals, and it just is a world that's amazing and so fulfilling to talk to them and learn from them.
Sophie, you're amazing. You
Got a
are
lot,
wise.
She's got a lot to
amazing.
tell us.
So does she have any final message? We're almost out of time. Any final message from Sophie, or any final message from Fran and Anne?
Let's see. She's just saying to me, help animals, help their voice to be heard.
We will, and we
Yeah.
do.
Well, I'll take that message because I completely agree and advocate
Me
for that.
too.
And we will try and do our best, Sophie, to do that.
We will.
Well, thank you, Anne Angelo, for being with us.
Thank you.
Again, the website's intuitivetouchanimalcare.com. Thank you, Franne.
Thank you.
Demetrician.com. We could say that.
Demetrician.com.
And Sophie, do we have Sophie.com?
Sophie.com. See
we need
my
to get
Facebook page.
A Sophie's on Facebook?
Not yet.
Okay.
She's going to have probably a presence.
Okay, great. Well, thank you for joining us.
Thank
Wonderful.
you.
Thank you very much. So are you ready to start talking and listening to your animals? Well, we're wrapping up another enlightening show. Reach out to me, drop me an email, connect with me on social media. I'd love to know what you thought about this show. As always, thank you for watching. Remember to nurture your soul and join me right here next time on Positive Energy.